Blair. I know you say you want to get into the editing, so I'm going to assume that you're really sincere and you want to learn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of time here and show you how I put together quickly the party video and my thought process. I know you like to take notes, but if you can just watch this and kind of get an idea of my thought process, then maybe it'll help you out. Okay, this is your timeline, as you know, down here. You go all the way back to the beginning, and the first thing that happens is it comes into, it has one title up over here. And you see I have 1, 2, 3 titles. Well, if I, let me zoom it in a little bit bigger here. There you can see I stepped them off to each other. And you notice that this little fader right here, that's in the middle here, that fades it up. So it faded in slowly, and then comes the next title, which also fades in, and then the next title that fades in. And over here I had them fade out, but I had this one start a little bit early, starting to fade, then the next one starts to fade, then the next one starts to fade. And so they all went in. I dropped, let me back up a little bit. When you capture your video, the first thing I do is I play the whole thing and I watch it, and when I see a little section, like this little clip from here to here, I just copied, I put 2 markers, an in and out marker, and I dragged it over to the timeline. And I kind of lay them in areas. So I wanted an area for the beginning of the party, and this was all, as you can see, it's a smaller format here, so this is all for the flip video. So I took a little bit of Sasha in there. I wanted to show that your shop can be a living room. So I put that in there. Then I dropped in another bit here of you playing your drums. That was in the beginning. And I threw a little happy birthday title in there, faded it up and faded it out. Now let me reduce this so you can see the whole thing, the whole timeline. There's the whole timeline, and you can see there's a lot going on there, a lot of activity. But you can do it rather fast if you think about it in kind of like a story. So I thought, okay, I got the beginning of the story, so I'll throw some bits in there to start the story, and then I wanted to start building on it. And I thought, how would you like to see it? And I know that the band is really important to you, so I threw a little bit of you playing the band. And I captured a little bit, and this I thought was kind of funny. You know, you're
turning it back into a wood shop.
Yeah, okay. Well, you thought you'd never turn it back into a wood shop. I thought, okay.
The hell with turning it back into a wood shop.
Yeah. All right, well, there's your real attitude. And I started off early with a little bit of your early practice without a lot of people around. And actually that was some of the best sound that I had, because the rest of the sound for the music was sort of a combination of sounds of everybody in the room and the music and everything combined. So I caught a little bit of sound from 2 clips. I didn't do the whole thing, but I showed a little bit of it. And I wanted to break it up. So I had a little bit of you playing. This gal here brought you a card. And I wanted to say something about you turning 60. Okay, there you go. So I started off, you got the story is going on. And you note these little things right here. These are transitions. I drag a cross dissolve and I put it between the 2 of them. You notice I butt the clips right up next to each other, and I put the cross dissolve so that when this one turns into this one, it does a cross dissolve. And there's a couple ways you can do that. You can separate the 2 clips and overlap them and do the cross dissolve with the dissolve line in the middle. You know, one down and the next one up, but then the sound will overlap. And I didn't want the sound to overlap, so I just put it up to so the sound runs right up to the end and then starts over, but the video cross dissolves. So there's a lot of ways of thinking about it. Let's move on. And I threw a little bit of this in here. I got back to the music here, and this music was actually some of the best music in terms of sound quality. And I played that consistently for a while because I didn't have any background sounds. And I want you to note this little thing right here. You notice that it does not have a audio segment attached to it. What I did is I dragged a little clip out of something. I wanted to show your food area before it got annihilated. So I put a little bit of that in there, but I brought in the clip which had both the audio and the video. And there's a way of going up here where you can separate the clips and turn and you separate the audio from the video, and highlight it, and then you delete the audio, and then you've just got the video to deal with, and you can put it anywhere you want to. And anytime you put video on top of video, that is the video that's going to play the strongest. Now, if you wanted the video in here to be opaque, you can actually drag this little line down in the middle, and you'll create kind of a ghosting image in the middle. And there's no ghosting now because I brought it up and I brought it back down, so you can have like a double exposure. So once again, the music is playing. I just dropped in this little image here, show what was going on. The music is still playing. Let me back up here a little bit. And I went all the way to this point right up here. You're still playing your music. And I did a transition to some little bit higher beat. And here's where I wanted to show the party. The party's coming in, but I didn't want to break it up, so I wanted there to be a continuity of sound all the way through of the music. So I played this all the way through, and I want you to note here, let me zoom this up a little bit. Here, what I did is I dropped in little segments of the party. So as I'm going along, all of a sudden, bam, there it goes, shows you a little bit of the party. And I left the sound back in here. And then back to the music, bam, there's a little bit more of the party, shows that people are coming. Bam, there's back to the music, and then the party. There's a different aspect of the party. So I wanted to show, all the way through, but you notice that from here to here, it's showing the party, but there's never losing the continuity of the music in the background. So this whole segment, when you play it, it sounds continuous all the way through. And we get to the back here, still more of the party. And at the very end right here, it gets kind of near the end of it. I played the last little bit of your music. I faded out. Now we went into the next transition. I faded to black and I brought it up. I wanted to put a little bit of music down in here to give some continuity of all this, but I didn't want the high tempo beat of your band. So I just grabbed a piece of music and I built it and I put it in there. And you see where I dropped the sound level way, way down here. Because this is the area where you were speaking and you wanted to... there you are. Where did I go? Now it's more of the party. There we go. When you were speaking, I'm sorry, I dropped the music out completely when you were speaking. But each one of these little segments right here is bits from... When I was watching the video, I said, there's a good piece, and I dragged it over. Here, dragged it over, dragged it over, dragged it over, and then I just put them all together and just kind of moved them around a little bit. And actually, it looks like a hell of a lot of work, but I guess I have 3 or 4 hours into it. But it went pretty fast. And then I got to, what I thought was the important part, your speech and thanking everybody and thanking your wife and all of that. So I left that pretty much intact, and I let that go. Had a hard time with the video because people kept stepping in front of me and I was trying to hold the camera up, so didn't get to the greatest video at all this, but I didn't want to lose the continuity of what you were saying. So I probably could have done a little bit more editing. I could have dropped in a couple of shots of cutaway shots. I could add to it and make it better and better and better. So whenever you've got a bad spot of video like I have right here, you can improve it significantly. Like right here, it's not so bad because I've got your head, but as soon as the video, I had to shake it away because of the crowd. Right there, I could have taken a piece of a close-up shot of your daughter or a close-up shot of your wife, and I could have just put that in there, and it could have been from anywhere as long as it's in the same room, and the sound would have kept going, and that would have left the continuity of it going. So always room for improvement. You can always take any video and work on it, work on it, work on it, work on it. I'm pretty happy with this one. It came out okay. There we are, back to thanking everybody. I got some good close-ups. Okay, this part was actually kind of fun. When we got to the cake, this is like a whole nother section. You quit speaking, and I dragged in a little bit about the happy birthday. I dropped in an audio file in there. This was an interesting transition I wanted to walk into the room. So I carried the camera in and I walked in. Steadicam would have been nice, but you know, it gives, instead of it always being still, it kind of breaks up the look and the feel of the video. So I walked into the room, and this part was actually pretty good. I really liked it when your daughter and son were there playing the drums, and you got into it, and they called you and did the happy birthday and all that sort of stuff. But this last little bit, I walked around with the flip camera and asked people to give you birthday messages. So I faded out. Now we're into birthday messages. You notice that this is a much smaller format. This is all 720, so it comes up smaller. The lighting's not so good. I've got lots of little messages from people. And I thought, well, I'm going to play with that. You know, I'm going to kind of put one here and put one here and put one here. And the way you do that is you take each one and you overlap them, and then you have to bring them in. And here's where you can work with each of these videos. You'll notice that the location of each of these is a different spot. I put one down here. There's an overlay. Some of them I had them zoom in a little bit. Some of them I started out real small and brought them up a little bit. It was just kind of fun, just kind of playing with it. I took a high shot of the shop. This one was terrible, but you know, he had something kind of interesting to say, so I just made it real small. I mean, it was black, totally black right there. And I came back into it. And then the fire dancers, I came right back to the full 1080, so it filled up the screen again. And because I wanted it to be a complete and total transition, I put a title onto it. And that was kind of interesting too, because it was long. It was like half an hour. And to play a half an hour of continuous video, it was a little bit overwhelming. So I condensed it down to just a few minutes. But part of it, I played the continuity of the same song. Like at the end right here, if you listen to the song in the background, I changed it up here. There we go. That was the high beat, but you notice I took lots of still, or not still, but lots of video change-ups. So I took it from all through the whole thing, but kept the sound going all the way through. So I dropped it in there, and I tried to keep the beat going consistent, so the sound followed all the way through. So I took some of the highlights and dropped them in, dropped them in, dropped them in. And that's where you have an overlay, an overlay, an overlay. And at the very end, I think I threw a title over there. Happy birthday. Actually, I threw two titles. And I'll show you how I did that one. Okay, at the very end right here, I start to fade out. The fire dancers are fading out. And I thought, okay, this is kind of cool. When she went boom, I wanted that to be kind of the final. I could have worked that a lot better and had more emphasis, maybe a sound noise or something. But that was like the end. Boom, she hit the ground, and I faded to black, slowly faded to black, and I threw a title in there, and the title comes up, and I threw another title in there that also comes up over it, and then it's out. Anyway, hope that helps. Hope your editing goes well. And anytime you have questions, let me know.